Cheryl, I gotta say to you, I feel like I know you. And so I have read the book. You're in my journal, you're in my notes. I know we're on a time frame here, and this interview is going to be just incredible, just for me here. So I gotta ask you this question. Where were you when you knew that you needed to write this great book?
Well, I knew that this was a really incredible American story, not just Black history,
Mm.
but American history. Uh, the first time I looked at our family tree that was given to me, I want to say by my father or my mother, I can't really remember which one, but
Mm.
it was a handwritten family tree and it covered at least four generations. And I was intrigued by that as a little girl. So I took it and I went to my father's office, who was an architect. So I was able to pull out a big sheet of paper and actually draw the family tree all over again and write everything in legible and then fill it out for a couple of more
Yeah.
generations because my generation wasn't in the family tree and neither was the next. And so that that I think was the beginning of me just thinking about our story and then just hearing all the stories growing up. And so in 2003 is when I first decided I wanted to get this story out. And I worked with some people in Hollywood. I was going to do like a sitcom, but that just didn't take off. And then I hired a literary publicist, and she brought a historian on our team, and together we wrote another book. But this book, I'm telling you, it was just so boring that I, I was like, this book, I can't take it forward. It's very difficult to write about five generations and make it interesting, and to cover 230 years. So
Yeah.
when I met Chandra McQueen, my current PR consultant, she introduced me to Nick Childs, and Nick really knew how to put this project together
Mm.
so that it would be something fun to read, not just history. And so now that's probably been 23 years trying to get this out. And my mom kept saying, Cheryl, we got to do this. We got to do this before I die. We got to do this.
It's one of those things, though, Cheryl. I gotta say to you, when I read it, it just gave me such a passion that I was on the phone with my aunt last night, yesterday afternoon, really, asking her all these questions. And I found out some things that I just didn't know, just based upon I had not done a family tree, personally speaking, Cheryl. And so I literally have started doing one thanks to you. And it
Oh,
just ignited
good.
passionately inside of me. So I want to know, what did this book do inside of you?
Mm, mm. You know what? When I launched the book tour probably about a week or so ago in Martha's Vineyard at the Black Film Fest, the moderator asked me that exact question, and it was more along the lines of, you know, what would you want your ancestors to say to you, and what would you
Oh,
say to them?
wow.
And I just would say that all that they went through, all their struggles were for a purpose, that they built a foundation that was meant to last. And each generation made that foundation stronger and stronger.
Mm.
And so I feel that I am standing on the shoulders of some very strong ancestors, and there is nothing that
Yeah.
I cannot go through. Now, as far as what they would say to me, I would just want them to say, Cheryl, you did a good job on your watch.
Mm.
That you made sure this story continued. And that's what my plan is, to continue to grow the foundation that's already there and make this legacy last forever.
When I was reading it, I got the sense of, it's just me, and I read a lot of books, Cheryl, unfortunately, or fortunately, so I should say,
Fortunately.
fortunately. Um, from my role sometimes. What I got from it was, and I know people, differ on this, but I felt like the ancestors were talking through you, though,
Hmm.
because you're saying some stuff in this book that's not all good. I mean, you give us the hard truth here, and I don't want to give away too much of it, but you give us the hard truth, though, of who these people are. And so, one of them I want to talk about is where it all starts, Moses. um,
Okay.
what did you learn about him that you didn't already know before the book started?
Well, I learned as a slave that had been kidnapped
Yeah,
out of your home
yeah.
and brought across the seas, he was still able to excel.
Mhm.
That is an um, incredible thought for me because, you know, he had nothing and no one. Um, but he was able to make brick, and he really made what was the ordinary life, an ordinary craft, into something extraordinary. And so, that means anything is possible.
Hmm. Tell me about, and I had so many questions here. Once again, I how you know a book is good to me is when I'm journaling it, which I did. So I was going to admit this. There are pages here, so it's not my professional line that I normally have. So it's just a lot here. It seems like people in your family line had the gift of connections, though, Cheryl, and
Mhm.
they stewarded those well. What did you take from that when you're going back and looking at your history? Because, like, it's here, there, everywhere, as they say, and they show up. Cheryl,
Right.
who did they learn that from? Was it from Moses? Was he the one who spread that?
You know what? I think it helped me find my gifts and talents.
Huh.
What are my gifts and talents?
Hmm.
When you play the piano and you're extremely good at it, and so then you already know. I mean, it's clear that your talent is musical and that you play this piano, right? But if your gift and a talent is one of making connections and meeting people, that's a little more obscure.
Yeah.
You don't even see it as a talent. I think that I've recognized now that is a talent and it's innate. It's something that was in my father. It's something that was probably in Moses McKissack the first. Unfortunately, I never got a chance to meet him and talk to him.
Hmm. Yeah.
But there are stories about how his slave master really liked him, and he named one of his sons after Moses,
Yeah.
which was very interesting. So he had to be endearing. He had to have that ability to get close to individuals.
He seemed
Um,
like a connector to me, though, Cheryl. As
yeah,
I,
a
as I was
connector.
reading it, I wrote down connector here because it seemed like that to me. No, I'm being like serious about this because I think we kind of write that gift off far
Right.
too often because it's like, oh, they're just friendly. And it's like, no, there's something more to that when someone's able to
It's
connect.
something more to that. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, so okay, your
Oh, absolutely.
can I talk about your dad? I feel like I would have liked him, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he was fun.
You say about him, I don't know if he would like this or not, Cheryl. But
Yeah,
you
no, he was fun.
say about him, my father had very few airs about him. He would show up in a suit that wasn't ironed, and a button or buckle fell off before he walked out the door. He sit down and sew it back on. So he just didn't care. And so Cheryl, that's me. And so tell me about your dad.
Well, he was a creative mind. He was a true architect at heart.
Yeah.
At dinner, he would sit down and, we'd have discussions. And, we had a real structured life back then. So 6 o'clock was dinner. And he would sit there with a napkin and a pen and he'd sketch out documents right while he's like he's doodling, but he was actually producing some work. Um, He was a jokester. He would tell funny jokes. And I told the story in the book about the time he wanted to teach my twin sister and I how to drink.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna miss that, Cheryl, but do tell. I'm having too much
uh,
fun.
but he had a lot of character and a lot of integrity. He treated his employees well. Everybody liked him, and a lot of times we would call him a good old boy. He did not have a problem navigating through the white America that existed at that time, and he had best friends who were white,
Yeah.
and they helped him in business, and he helped them in business.
Hmm.
On politics, he was just who for whoever won. He'd go to one party of who he thought was going to win. If it wasn't that one, he'd slip out and go to the other one.
I won't say who else is like that, but sure. Yeah, sure. No, I just think that he seemed to have this sensibility that we're missing in our culture. I mean,
Hmm.
where he was just a good person.
Yeah.
Can we talk about y'all's faith? Because you built 6,000 churches, 13 to 14 different schools. Um, what was faith like? That's a lot of churches, by the way. What was faith like?
Yeah. Well, my as far as I can remember, my uh, up to my grandfather, they were all Christians.
Yeah.
Um, we had a family church in Nashville, Tennessee called Capers. And we would go there every Sunday, and it was a long ordeal.
Wow.
It was, yes, no, it was, you go to church, Sunday school, then you sit through church, and then you stay after. I mean, and I just was waiting on the good food because the
Yeah.
food was
Yeah,
amazing.
that is the highlight, Cheryl, of every church. I mean, clear on that. That is the highlight, Cheryl.
And yes, I believe that they were strong Christians in that Calvin and Moses McKissack, my grandfather and great uncle, used to build churches at cost. And I used to say all the time, I believe they're tithing into the McKissack future uh,
Wow.
by doing that. And, when I think about my success, I credit that to my success. The fact that they were, giving to these churches all along the way.
Oh,
So faith has been very strong. And then for me, I became a born again Christian in 1992.
wow, Cheryl.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
It's been a long time. Not to say it's not too long now, but you know what I'm trying to say, Cheryl. Yeah, it's just been a long
Yeah.
time. Yeah, not to say. No, Cheryl, what's funny is my wife became a born again Christian at Lake Providence in Nashville. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
in Nashville?
Nashville. And so that's where her faith story began. And so
Okay.
it's one of those things where she would say, we had some of them in our church, Maina, in Nashville.
So
And
McKissick.
yeah, because it's in Nashville. And I said, are you sure about that? She goes, I am pretty sure. And so like she loves Lake Providence. That's like, when she talks about her
Yeah,
church background, it's that, Cheryl. It's kind of one
yeah.
of those like over and over again. All right, next to last question. I gotta have you off here on time. Oh, so many questions I could ask you. Um, there are all of these projects that I got here, tons of them, in fact, and then more. Um, when you look back, and people have got to read the book because I do not want to give away too much. There's so much in the book, Cheryl. You do a great job, like teasing in the book too. By the way, so if you like
Oh, good.
you
Yeah.
like family drama, if you like heartache, read the book because it's some good stuff. So, Cheryl, when you look back at all these projects, which one comes to mind in your mind that just stands out to you? Because you are the chief honcho, chief CEO, you're in charge now, and you've done a lot of projects, which has been. And I told my wife this last night. I said, if it was just Cheryl doing this business, it would still be good. So, which one stands out to you?
That is really tough because, we've had some really great opportunities on projects.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, I loved the chase for Barkley Arena. I just loved going after that project and the people I met and the lessons I learned.
Uh-huh.
Um, and and the fact that it was in Brooklyn and I had to band together, all these Black organizations to, say that they wanted McKissack on the job. And, it was just a good experience. Bertha Lewis,
Yeah.
what a
Yeah.
force of nature.
That was amazing. That was amazing, Cheryl, by the way. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That, I mean, it's hard because, then I think about JFK Terminal One, where I'm working with Magic Johnson and Loop Capital. They're the owners there.
Mm.
And the setup and the model of that project is what it really should look like in America. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say. It's a toss up. JP Morgan Chase, their corporate headquarters, we just opened up the trading floors yesterday. It's very hard. It's very hard to pick one. Oh, the Civil Rights Museum in Memphis, where the homeless lady Jackie was out front, and my mom was like, "You got to go move her." I'm like,
All right, Cheryl, this is the last question, I promise. When you hit send on the book, did you feel like you said everything that you needed to say?
probably so. I so many more stories and lessons learned have popped up in my mind since then. I'm like, oh, I should have said this. I should have said that. But, you know, I think I got the gist of it out.
Hmm.
I think I told the truth about our industry, design and construction. I was also able to show the importance of legacy and entrepreneurship. So yes, I feel like I got the essence of the story I was trying to tell. I got that out.